It does not matter what library, framework, or even platform you develop applications on. They all have three fundamental parts to them: storing state, changing state, and presenting that state in a user interface. You will notice with Cerebral that these three parts are very clear and simple. The state of the application is stored in what we call a model. The business logic for changing that state is defined in a controller. And the UI we often refer to as the views. Unlike other frameworks, Cerebral has only one instance of a model and one instance of a controller. In your model, you store all the state of your application. And I mean all. It does not matter if it is your data you have fetched from the server, some state you need to indicate a loading indication in the UI, or even state related to URLs. Everything is in this single instance model. You might think this is crazy, but hang on. You will soon see why this is such a powerful concept. The job of the controller is to synchronize state between your views and your model. That means when you change the text of an input, that text is moved into the model and then back into the input. That might seem counterintuitive, but you will soon see how powerful that concept is as well. The controller also synchronizes state between the server and the model, like getting new data from the server, posting new data to the server, and so on. The controller even synchronizes state with the router. When using Cerebral, it is easy to make your views very dumb. The controller exposes the state of the model and a concept called signals. That way you only have to define how the views should look, what state they should use, and trigger signals to make changes to the state. This fact also makes it easier to create universal applications and generally write UIs. So what is Cerebral? Cerebral is a loosely coupled framework that gives you a few but powerful concepts to build scalable applications. You will think of your controller and model as your actual application. The views are just a way to display the state of your application and trigger changes. You will notice that you will not get into problems changing and moving the views of a Cerebral application. Adding new features most commonly requires no refactoring at all, even though your new feature affects your existing app. But there is one more thing I want to show you. Cerebral also has its own debugger. Since all the state of your application passes through the controller, it knows everything that is happening. When I make changes to this to-do MVC application, you will see in the debugger what signal was triggered and what actions were run. Actions are the Lego blocks of a signal. We can see that this setTitle action has changed the state of the application, passing in the value from the input. When I hit enter, we can see a more complex signal running. The signal is also talking to the server. As we can see, it tells us how the signal actually ran, going down the success path and not the error path. Last but not least, Cerebral remembers your state. That means when I refresh the application now, we are right back where we were. This is beneficial when working on your code. You do not have to reproduce the state every time you make a change. But that is not all. Cerebral also remembers the previous state. That means we can now move back in time and look at each signal triggered and what state was produced up to that point. As you can see, there is also a record button here, but I will let you try that out yourself. Thanks for taking the time to look through what Cerebral is all about, and if it made sense to you, please move on to the other videos and documentation.